With any popular franchise, corporations are almost guaranteed to profit off its huge success, and this is no exception. Sonic the Hedgehog was a character created in the 90s by Sega in an effort to combat with Nintendo. It was quite the competition between the two companies, and both franchises are insanely popular. Nowadays, it almost seems as though Mario and Sonic are best buds, even appearing in a few spin-off games together, and Sega games are also seeing release on Nintendo consoles. Something you'd think would never have happened. Much like his former rival, Sonic has appeared in many other forms of media, mainly in TV shows, though there was a two-part OVA and lines of comics. In recent years, a feature film franchise kickstarted in 2020, and boy did it not go the route you were expecting. When you think of a feature film based on Sonic the Hedgehog, you'd expect it to be animated, right? Well, think again! The film is live action, with humans interacting with a CGI hedgehog model. That was honestly the last thing I was expecting when I heard about a film adaptation being made. It didn't get much better when the first trailer was released in May 2019.
Meow? Oh, come on.
Yeah, many people were not happy with how the character was initially designed. So much so that newbie director, Jeff Fowler, delayed the film from its planned November release in 2019 so they could give a redesign. Then when the redesign was revealed in a new trailer around the time the film was supposed to be released, it was much better, and it finally saw official release in February 2020. Now, a sequel is about to release in April this year, so I figured I may as well revisit this film and see if it's still worth viewing. The last time I saw it was in the theater, around the time COVID-19 was getting so bad that going to the theater was just starting to get unsafe. Let's see if a rewatch changes anything. Even though it's a live-action film based on a franchise you wouldn't think would be adapted into live-action, you'd think they'd at least try to adapt a storyline that came from one of the games. Nah, that would make too much sense. Instead, what we see is yet another film about an extraterrestrial being that ends up stranded on planet Earth and must rely on a human character to hide from the government. Yeah, that's original, isn't it? I mean, if E.T. and the Iron Giant can do it pretty well, so can Sonic, right? In basics, Sonic once inhabited another planet, born with super speed, but then Longclaw the Owl used magic rings to send him to another planet while also sacrificing herself to a tribe of echidnas that wanted Sonic's power. Keep in mind, the Longclaw character was made up for the film.
She was basically Obi-Wan Kenobi, if Obi-Wan Kenobi had a beak and ate mice.
Yeah, there's plenty of pop culture references in this movie. We even see footage of the film's speed. So now Sonic's on Earth, hiding in a cave away from the humans, though often watching humans participating in their activities. His most common sight is Tom Wachowski, played by James Marsden. He is the local sheriff of the small town called Green Hills in Montana. Green Hills is of course a reference to the first zone in the original game. What Sonic doesn't know is that Tom and his wife Maddie plan to move to San Francisco because Tom wants more action in his work. But then Sonic accidentally causes a large-scale power outage across the Pacific Northwest. So then the eccentric Dr. Robotnik is hired by the government to investigate.
Are you in charge here?
Yes, I am.
Wrong. I'm in charge.
Is
Me.
Major
I'm in charge.
Here we have possibly one of the strangest casting choices for the main villain. It seems to me like this film was specifically made so Jim Carrey could play a role. That would not have been my pick if it were up to me. But then again, it's not as strange as Jack Black playing a giant fire-breathing dragon turtle thing. So Robotnik's on the trail, and when Sonic hides in Tom's shed to use one of his ring portals to go to another planet, gets caught and tranquilized, causing him to pass out, thus dropping his bag of rings through the portal he created, which then land on top of the Transamerica Pyramid in San Francisco. Now, Tom's got to work together with Sonic to get the bag of rings before Robotnik can steal Sonic's power and use it to conquer the world.
Note the lack of surprise.
So, there's not really a lot of ambition behind this plot. The chemistry between Tom and Sonic is pretty much like many Buddy Road movies. It's about as basic as it could get. They slowly form a bond, they argue about some plans one of them has, they cooperate in fighting the villain. Yeah. This sounds pretty familiar, doesn't it? Same thing with Sonic's backstory. Before we even see the backstory, the film opens in the middle of the climax, then rewinds to Sonic's past. I feel like if neither of those things were present in the film's opening, I wouldn't complain, especially with the backstory. I feel like it's more interesting that we don't know where Sonic got his bag of rings, and just plans on hiding his power because he doesn't know how to use it to save the world yet.
Let's back up.
Though we do have decent performances by James Marsden and Ben Schwartz, who did both the voice and facial motion capture for Sonic. Schwartz especially has the type of voice you'd imagine for the iconic character. It fits him well, especially combined with his design and animation.
Hey everyone, welcome back to my live stream. Today we're destroying robots. Step 1.
If it was that earlier design that Ben Schwartz did in the final project, then there'd be big problems. We already have issues with the pop culture references and product placement. Seriously, there's reference to Olive Garden.
The only apps on my phone are the ones that came with it.
In the Olive Garden.
Amazon,
Can you believe Amazon is gonna deliver packages with these things?
a few other movies and TV shows.
I feel just like Vin Diesel. It's all about family, Tom.
It's not funny just because it's a reference. That's the weakest part about the writing. As I've already mentioned, Jim Carrey is not an actor I'd have chosen for the villain. Well, he does a good job playing the character. Most of his performance is just him being Jim Carrey.
Give me a big fat break!
If you thought Robotnik was silly in the cartoon, wait till you get a load of this. In this scene, as he's preparing a quill he recovered to power his machines, he's dancing to the Poppy family. He's even doing this in front of a screen showing a T-Rex in pursuit, then ducks his head as though it had been bitten off, and keeps dancing. Yeah, even Robotnik in the cartoon was more restrained than this. It can be said that the action scenes are a big part of the positives. It does get clever with utilizing Sonic's speed and athleticism. It even goes into slow-mo sometimes, which sounds like a decent idea for a film like this, but it gets old quick. But oh look, Sonic fans, there's plenty of reference to the games. It's not just in the soundtrack or the setting, there's plenty of Easter eggs for you to find it. Seems like more attention was put into the Easter eggs than the actual story. They even make reference to Sonic's love of chili dogs, following a fart joke.
Oh, that's awful. What did you eat?
I think it's called a chili dog?
You might want to check your fur on that one, buddy.
The ending leaves a hook for a sequel. Robotnik vows to make his return to Earth for his revenge, and in the meantime, a young two-tailed fox arrives on Earth in search of Sonic.
I just hope I'm not too late.
Yup, Tails makes his appearance at the end of the movie, and he was given the current voice of his game counterpart, Colleen O'Shaughnessy. She was the only voice to reprise the role in the film. Now that I've seen the film in preparation for the sequel, my thoughts now? It's watchable. It could have been a good movie, but it's only average, mainly due to the writing. You can see what they wanted to make here. They provided us with good visual work, good performances, and some passion for the source material. The action scenes are another thing to be fond of. We are provided with an ideal method of approaching the movie. But the writing is the major issue here. It's generic, filled with product placement and pop culture references, and lacks ambition. They don't really try to do anything new here. And in the end, it's another basic kids movie. It's one you can watch just fine, yeah, but there are so many ways it could have been better. Hopefully, the sequel should take care of at least some of the issues, since it has more familiar faces in the main cast, namely Tails and Knuckles.
Do I look like I need your power?
I just want to make one pop culture reference here because I feel like this is advice more filmmakers should take into consideration before going ahead with adapting video games into film. With great power comes great responsibility. If you can't use it well, don't use it at all.